then Joe hired me at Springbrook. Joe was the AD at Springbrook. He went from DeMatha to Paint Branch to Springbrook. He hired me, and I recruited David, to come to Springbrook.
Interesting.
And Coach McGregor was not happy about that, but it is what it is, and it was very funny. But yeah, David turned out to be all met 2 years in a row. Got a full boat to Wake Forest.
Wow.
And of course, his dad was the AD there and a chemistry teacher, and Joe and I go back to 1966 when I started coaching here.
So So where did you go to college?
I went to Maryland.
You went to Maryland?
Yeah.
Did you play there? Or?
No.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to St. John's.
What?
And
St. John's. Stop the film right now.
My connection, the whole thing, I started coaching at a place called Little Flower, CYO, 130 pound. And my last year there, Morgan and Moss and Joe Gallagher came to all the game. I had 4 kids off that 8th grade team that played college football.
No, really?
Yeah, and so we had good players.
Wow.
And all legitimate, just good kids, and we won the whole thing, and then, of course, they all wanted our kids.
Right.
And then actually, Jim Fagan, the prep, ended up with 2 of them. But St. John's got 1. But anyway, DeMatha didn't get any of them, but it was too far. That's like Spring Valley.
Yeah.
And coming to DeMatha was tough. But they got me. So, Morgan offered me a job, so did Moss. And I went here. You guys probably remember. You remember Harry Rest?
Oh, yeah.
Harry got me into coaching.
Get out of here.
At Little Flower. I knew him very, very well. Yeah. He got me my job here.
Is that
he came over, and then the next year I came over.
So what year was that? That was 66?
66.
66, okay.
Well, I taught here 67, 68, and 69. But I started coaching in 66 in the spring and coached baseball. And Harry got me. Harry was helping Buck. Mm-hmm. Buck was the head coach. Harry was the assistant. Right. I was head JV, baseball, and drove that bus. And the blue bus. Anyway, Harry got a head job, I think at Sidwell Friends, maybe. Yeah. He got a head job there, and he made the mistake of, I think he kind of tried to get Joe Lemon to go with him. Well, that really pissed Morgan off, and that was not a guy you want to be angry with. And so he was a great coach. I think he went 3 years in a row, never lost a freshman basketball game, and he won at Sidwell. And then he moved to Virginia Beach, and I tried to track him down about a year ago, and I got a hold of the Glenn Brenner of that area down there, whoever, I can't remember his name, but he's from here.
Glenn Brenner, that's a name.
Well, he was, maybe not Glenn Brenner, but he was the Channel 9 sports guy, and he's from here. And I ran into him and got a hold of him, and he knew Harry, but he couldn't find, no idea if Harry's alive or not. Probably not, because he was a good 5 or 6 years older than me. Yeah. But he might be, but I could not track him down. So, but he was a great coach. Yeah. He was really good. I think he went 4 years without losing a game.
Wow.
On the freshman level.
Yeah. So what made you move from baseball to football?
Well, football was well, I mean, I wasn't a very good athlete, but baseball was my best sport as far as playing. But football, I just, it just gets in your blood, and so my last team was 1966, and we ran the table. We played all our games down on the Ellipse down in D.C. And like I said, Morgan and there was a big...
This is Little Flower you're talking
Little Flower, 8th grade, 130-pound football. But all the great ones were in that league.
Yeah,
And we had a PG league, we had a DC league, we had a Maryland league, and Little Flower was in Maryland, but we played in the DC part. But we had 3 fields, and the games would go on. Like we had 3 games, like from 9 to 1 on the ellipse. You know, they were fields there, and I think GW played baseball there in the springtime. But you get down there, you'd park, you know, right around the ellipse, and you play the games. And well, Morgan and Joe and Moss, well, they would be roaming it, you know, just checking out players. And so anyway, that's how I knew Morgan because Harry, and I was already here at DeMatha coaching baseball, but I was still a student at Maryland. So anyway, the end of the year comes, we win the whole thing, and we got a lot of high school prospects. I think 6 of them went on to be captains of their team in high school. Wow. You know, and 4 of them got full boats to colleges. You know, 2 of them, the Tarasinski brothers, both went to the University of Georgia. Full boat. So, you know, I had a pretty good team. You know, in spite of my coaching, we had good players. And I was coaching baseball with Harry, and football, Harry helped me coach. And, you know, then we had this great team. But then in the springtime, Harry said, hey, you know, we need a JV baseball coach. Come on over. And so I did, you know, and I got to know Morgan and Buck and all those guys. Buck was the head baseball coach. And so I was still finishing up Maryland, but coaching here. And then, you know, I graduated, and Morgan offered me a job, so I took it. And glad I did. I learned, you know, was exposed to, you know, Buck and John Moylan and Joe and Hank Ponatowski and Kurt Schwartz and you know, Morgan, of course, and you know, it was just a great learning, you know. Jimmy Acton, he was one of them, and Jimmy Spiridopoulos. He and I and Hank Galata. We were the JV staff. You know, those guys were pretty good coaches, you know, and Jimmy was basketball, Hank was basketball, but I was more football. But oh yeah, it was, you know,
what'd you teach?
I taught Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry. My first year, I had 5 different preps, and drove the bus and coached baseball and football. I don't know how. I mean, I can't even imagine doing that now.
As a rookie,
yeah, and Morgan was the head football coach, and Morgan taught 3 periods of history, and he was the AD, head football, head basketball, AD, and taught 3 classes. And I mean, that's the way it was done back in those days. I mean, I was way down the totem pole, you know, with those guys. I just kept my mouth shut, and you know, Dean Smith would walk in, and one day I walked in that office, and the head coach of Texas, Darrell Roy, was sitting there. I don't know who he was recruiting, and but you saw guys like that almost every day. I mean, they were there. And back in those days, they could take you out to lunch or dinner or whatever, and put it on their expense account. That was legal then. And so, I mean, it was a lot of fun back in those days. And for a guy like me, I was just kept my mouth shut and just listened and watch Morgan, you know, deal with those people, and it was a very great experience.
So